All right. Hello, everyone watching. My name is Daniel G. Wilson. I haven't made a name for this series yet. I'll just call this Lingua Franca Interviews. I'll probably come up with something better eventually and then just retitle it. But yeah. All right. So today I am talking with the awesome folks of Cutsleeve. Yeah, they are a Toronto-based band. Uh, I don't know exactly what style of music they make, mostly because they don't have any proper recordings out yet. But I am stoked to find out. So yeah, without further ado, everyone, let me introduce you to Cutsleeve, and also, first off, thank you, Cutsleeve, for appearing on the show or program or whatever you call this. Thank you for thank you.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
thanks so much
Thank
for having
you.
us.
My pleasure.
I guess we can
Okay.
probably go around and introduce ourselves formally.
Yes,
I
please.
can start because I'm talking. I'm Chanel. I'm the lead vocalist, and sometimes I play keys as well. I use she, her pronouns. Yeah, I've been part of like the stable lineup of Cutsleeve for 2 years now, but I wasn't one of the original members. Yeah, I'll pass it to Hillary next.
Hello, Hillary, she, her. I play bass, and now because you brought it up, I am the original member of Cutsleeve.
I didn't mean to bring it up, but
yeah, glad to be here.
Pleasure.
Who are you passing it to?
You.
Amanda, you caught it.
You just caught it.
I caught the potato. My name's Amanda. I play the rhythm guitar and the backup vocals, and I go by she, her, or they, them pronouns. And what else do we talk about? I am not one of the original members. I joined last, actually, just a little bit after Chanel and Hannah. And I know we don't have any music out yet, but we will very soon.
Excited.
I'll pass it to Leanne next.
Okay, I'm Leanne. I use she, her pronouns. I suppose I'm one of the original members of this band, and I'm the
founding
drummer.
member.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. So there's only one person left.
I caught it. Okay, I'm Hannah. I use she, her pronouns. I am also not an original member of the band. And I play lead guitar. And yeah, that's all.
Awesome. All right, now we got the introductions out of the way. I didn't write anything for this. I usually don't write things for interviews. I have basic ideas in my head. It makes things more interesting, I find. I'll start off with something that I've been wanting to ask you guys for a while, actually, since I found out about your band first. So I'm a nerd. I like history. I like anthropology. I like a lot. I like references to things in music, and like one thing I found interesting was your band's name. Is your band's name? I know that it comes from a very interesting, like, bit of cultural history, bit of queer cultural history. I was wondering if you could explain like the band, your band's name to like people who are unaware of that.
Yeah, let's pass that one to Hillary, our resident historian. That's our resident historian.
The best, so it's true.
Yes, before the current lineup, we, myself and someone else, were brainstorming the name, and we were just thinking of like going, like just doing a brainstorm of different things that we thought could fit like the mood of what we wanted. And I think at that time, like I was reading, or not reading, watching videos from people talking about what queer culture is, or LGBTQ culture in like East Asian countries, what it's like there. So like I know people were talking like there's slang for lesbian or gay, and it's the Mandarin word for comrade. So like that was like an idea, and then I stumbled upon like the Passion of the Cutsleeve, which is a folklore story from like way ago ancient China, of an emperor who was asleep and he had a male partner in bed with him and he wanted to leave his bed for whatever reason. I don't know the reason. And instead of waking up his partner, he cut the sleeve off of his robe. So that became a euphemism for same gendered relationships in China. Yeah.
The reason why Hillary says for some reason we don't know what the reason is, because every time we're asked this question, someone says
say something else,
and then someone says no, he went to get water, or no, he just like went to go like do something. Like we don't know.
Tend to his emperor duties.
Oh, that's funny.
The point is, he got up, he cut off his sleeve.
And also, I mean, like there's also a lot of other stories that refer to queerness, but Cutsleeve just seemed to be the most like succinct and like fit the mood of who we are, I guess. So it always just like stuck, yeah. But it's not badass. It's too soft.
Soft, tender.
It's too soft and tender.
I like the name. I like the name. It sounds badass to me.
Okay, but also a lot of people mishear us when we say it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What people heard.
Think what the first syllable sounds like sometimes.
If you add an N to it.
So like some people like
Someone thought I said that. I was like no.
Okay.
That's good. I like that.
it was at a show, right, or something. Like we were playing at a show, and someone was like, "Yeah, that's like an awesome name," or maybe it was like I don't know, someone that we came across, and we're telling who it was or where it was. But it's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do I not enunciate enough when I announce who we are? Maybe
You have to
it's my
spell
bad.
it out. Like, this is our Instagram, like CUT.
No. Oh God. That reminds me of an anecdote. Just like my dad was like this old Jamaican dude. Like we're talking like he was born in like 1930. So like he was also old and had a thick accent, right? And so one day my mom was like one day they were talking about like shells, like conch shells, and yeah.
I see where this is going.
He wasn't saying the other word, but like the way he said he was pronouncing it just came out. Like my mom had to tell him, please don't stop saying it.
Yeah, you hold it up to your ear and you can hear the ocean.
God. But yeah,
it's fun.
Just Cutsleeve things.
but yeah, honestly no, like, but seriously though, like, yeah, I find like I found like I again like I don't really have a cultural tie to the name, but I again, as someone who likes history and likes references, for example, I think it's pretty cool. Personally, like I wish more bands would kind of just be free to use like the references from like their different background stuff like that. Like in my band, my band's like our name is Patwa, right? So like
Mhm.
because I want to have
Yeah.
that representation. So I always
For
like
sure.
seeing that. All right.
Yeah.
So the next most pressing question I have to ask you is this. Now, what the hell do you sound like?
I wish we knew.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
very
we're
good
still
question.
figuring it out.
Will it sound good if we play a tease through Zoom? How does it work?
I
I
think you have to
mean-
screen share and like share your computer audio.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, also, I don't know, I could just give you a link.
Well, I mean, the song is coming out on Friday.
It's
so
on
that's pretty
Friday, yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Coming out on Friday.
But
our
to
first
give
single.
to give you a little rough idea, some words and names of genres we've thrown around sometimes when asked have been like alternative, rock, emo, punk, grunge, and
Yeah.
anything else within that realm and outside of that realm.
I
I mean,
think Vivek also said we were kind of gave her like a nostalgic 90s 2000s vibe to it as well.
Yeah, I think
that too.
I think one of the biggest things maybe is like our inspiration bands maybe could give you a good idea because we take like a lot of inspiration from Paramore, from who else? From Moaning Lisa, Wolf Alice, yeah, Veruca Salt,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's more like maybe not specifically the genre, but the energy that we try to kind of bring into the lyrics or into the music. But I think like we've all had very similar like musical, well, obviously like some variations, but like I feel a core like musical inspiration has really made our music what it is. I think when you listen to our music, you can really hear those inspirations. I don't know.
yeah, and also, I mean, when the EP comes out, they all they all fit into like slightly different sounds a bit, which I guess speaks to all the different influences that we have.
And also like the sounds that or the way that certain songs end up sounding, I feel like are based on the mood or feelings behind the lyrics or the message in the song. Like we kind of develop the sound for that song based on the feelings and intentions behind it. And it's not so much like, oh, we know our sound. This is what we usually tend to lean toward as far as sound goes, because that's us. That's how we identify ourselves in music, as we sound this way. I think rather than it being like that, our sound kind of comes from the feelings. Yeah. So whatever the feelings are.
We have a lot of feelings.
Yeah, that's the tender part. That's the soft tender part.
Take the tenderness and then we add distortion.
Usually
Yeah,
that's how
actually,
it
if you
works,
sum up
yeah.
our sound, that's pretty much it.
I dig it already. I love Veruca Salt, so like I'm stoked.
We actually, you know what? The funny story about the Veruca Salt inspiration was that when we first started, I don't think any of us really knew who Veruca Salt was. And then when we started looking for a producer or a sound engineer, like a studio to record in. And one of the people that I was talking to when we sent our demo, he was like, "You sound just like Veruca Salt," and then sent us all these links. We listened to them, and we were like, "Holy shit, this is our new favorite band!" And they're great and iconic. So, thank you to that person. If they're watching this, they know who they are.
Nice. I love when that happens. It's always interesting when like people like tell you like, what your band reminds them of, but it's like the bands you're actually influenced by, or in this case, that you'll be your new favorite. The first time I ever got someone ever told me my band sounded like Texas Is the Reason or Slow, and I was just like, you noticed.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear other people's like perception of stuff too, right? Because we all know like the backstories behind each song and the process that it went through to get where it was. But like when people hear it, they put their own influences and their own bands that they're familiar with, and they associate it with something completely different, which I think is really cool.
Nice. Well, I'm on.
Yeah, like
sorry, go on. Please.
I was listening actually to Daniel, to some of your music today, and for some reason it reminded me of Pup. I don't know if you've ever gotten it before.
Actually, no.
You ever said that? No?
No.
Something with like I don't remember what song I was listening to, but just like the storytelling kind of way that you were singing. And also like the really like upbeat energy, like the driving guitars, and I don't know. I thought it was really neat. And I also really like Pup. So I think it's just the similar energies I was feeling. It's like, oh, I like this. I'm familiar with this.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you. Oh my, you just made my week. Someone actually like I wouldn't say like Pup's not a direct influence. It's more of a direct influence. Sorry, an indirect influence in terms, because I like them, and like I turned 18 when like. Am I aging myself? No, I turned 18 when like when like Reservoir came out and stuff like that. So like that I was obsessed with that album. So
yeah.
I thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I just noticed. Just came to me.
My, now you got me blushing on camera. But yeah. I am honestly stoked. I'm honestly stoked for like your album. Album or EP?
EP.
But it's a long EP.
It's a long EP.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been told it's long. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with the technicalities of
It's like more than
It's 6 tracks.
yeah. EPs are usually like 4 or 5.
Honestly, music industry terms are kind of bullcrap anyway. So like, I mean,
yeah, true.
Fela Kuti would release albums like vinyl LP albums, double-sided, and they'd be 1 or 2 songs, but the songs would be like 15 to 30 minute like Afrobeat jams, and so like technically speaking, like. The track length is it's like a single, but the actual length of the recording, it's an album. So like,
yeah, it's an LP.
Yeah.
Wow.
So say call it whatever you like. Now, this segue. Now talking about influences, the segues to something I want to talk about. As well. I'm liking my freewheeling style here. But no, on the real, one interesting thing. So, now in terms of like with lingua franca, what I always like to say, like whenever I make posts from the official accounts, I always say we. There isn't really, it's just me really. I just want to sound more professional. But okay, what we / I always like to do, like with lingua franca, is everything is like trying to highlight like bands with BIPOC fronted bands, or bands who okay. Zoom just removed the 40-minute time limit on the group meeting or something.
Awesome.
Yay.
Yay.
Good.
Yeah. For everyone who's watching, I have never hosted a Zoom meeting before. Yes, I'm fine saying that on camera. So yeah, this is more new to me. I've hosted interviews before, but this format is different. But back to what I was saying. So yeah, what with Lingua Franca trying to, highlight BIPOC front slash BIPOC inclusive bands in in rock music, because people tend to think we don't exist for some ungodly reason.
Mm.
I mean, we know the reason. We know the reasons, but like,
Yeah.
we're not here to flame anybody. Well, I am.
We're
but,
actually not having a conversation right now. It's just 6 empty screens of people who don't exist.
right?
Not real.
Yes. So speaking in terms of musical influences, so one of the things that I always like, for me, like dealing with as an Afro Jamaican person, is usually references to there's always a few key bands people will reference to me when reference to me, and it usually ruins my day when they do. It's like,
Oh no.
it's like we'll be playing, my band will be playing a show, and we incorporate so many different genres, right? Like, you listen to our music, like
Mhm.
that song will be like this dirge, this dirge, and then another song will be like this acoustic reggae ballad about
Yeah.
about longing for my gay love interest. And we play normally live we just play raucous. And I've had the amount of times I've had people come up to me after shows, and particularly drunkenly just tell me, have you guys heard of the Bad Brains?
Oh no.
Oh.
Or or the Jimi Hendrix references, and I'm just like,
Oh wow.
and we sound nothing like Jimi Hendrix, and
It's just the only person they can think of.
right? And it's not even okay, I am influenced by these guys, but not that much.
Yeah.
Not even a reference to Fishbone, because I'm more influenced by Fishbone for stage presence, or Living Color, even Prince. No, it's Hendrix and the Bad Brains. Why did you say the Bad Brains? And I just want to yell at everybody, but I digress. Speaking to that, again, a weird segue, but as BIPOC musicians, BIPOC musicians, as a band as an all Asian descended band, my question to you guys is what is your experience in terms of that, in terms of that aspect, it's hard to verbalize that, what I'm trying to say, but what's your experience in terms of that, people just getting people to kind of get what you're about without the immediate the immediate comparison, because at least speaking in terms of difference, at least in my case, I know at least people will reference Jimi Hendrix mostly because, oh, that's the one black guy they know who plays guitar, or they know to play guitar, the Bad Brains, because the one black punk band they know. But particularly for other people in the POC community, there isn't even really that mainstream representation as much. So my question is what's your experience navigating, I guess, that aspect of it, I guess that comparison, and also what is the go-to comparison people make that ruins your day?
I can't actually think of a go-to comparison for us.
Yeah, how we've been so fortunate as to ever have one.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think we have it. It's I mean, all the influences that we just listed earlier are all white, mostly women.
Yeah, I think it's less of because I mean, to my knowledge, there's not really any the one big mainstream artist that I can really think of that people would immediately think of, but I think it's more oh, you girls are really doing it, or you know what I mean, or
yeah, we get infantilized.
yeah, it's more just oh, you're a lady drummer, or you know what I mean, like, or it's
It's
just
like a very
it's
patronizing look
yeah.
at it.
Like, I understand that we do label ourselves, you know, like we're like a queer East Asian femme band. Like, I understand that we label ourselves that way, but I think it's more like, I think it's less like we're a girl band and more like we are a band, and it is important that we recognize that we are part of these groups, because, you know, sometimes people don't like understand that that's an important part of our experience as a band. But I feel like, for at least for me, it's a lot of like, oh, you're like a girl drummer, like that's so cool, or, you know, they're like, that's cute, like what are you gonna do with your life, you know, like something like that. That's my experience.
I will say there was one time, I think, where someone, not someone who had ever heard us or seen us play before, just purely by visuals, like judging like our photos and stuff, did ask me if I was in a K-pop band. So that was one,
Wow.
that was one just, but that was like one person. So like, I'm sure it doesn't speak for everybody, but you know, like sometimes, I don't know, like it's those kinds of little comments that really like make you go,
Yeah. For me, it was like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Thanks. For me, it was like I talked to I like went to the same school for like my entire life before university, and I like joined one of their like GSA meetings, and we were talking a little bit, and one of the teachers she told me that apparently like for all of like my former teachers, it was actually more surprising to them when I was in a rock band and less so that I was queer, which I found was like really interesting, because throughout school I was like I was like pretty much like a lot of like East Asian stereotypes really fit me. And so I was very much like put into that box, and I couldn't really break out of it until I left. At least that's how I felt at the time. So like sort of like I kind of get the same vibes that like what Leanne says, like, oh, like how cute, like you're like a girl drummer kind of thing. Like for me, it's like, oh, but like you're so proper, like you're in a rock band. Like, I'm like, oh, don't know what to say to that too, because it's like, you know, my former teachers, and like they saw me grow up, and like it's just a very strange that kind of ruined my day when they're like so like shocked that like I could do something that I'm interested in, just because I felt like I was like prevented from doing something that I was so interested in during that time, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, remember, I just had a thought. Do you remember for that one time we were at Rehearsal Factory, and oh, should I say the name? Sorry. We were at
You know that one big place where all the bands go?
we were at
we already said it.
It's too late.
Based in Toronto rehearsing, and when we were like 2 minutes past our time, but we were leaving, and I don't remember, but there are two guys that were coming into our space. I don't remember what they said. Hillary, do you remember? But it was like they're like, oh, or I think we were carrying
yeah, it's about
like
the keys.
guitar. Oh yeah, Chanel was carrying the keys, and they're
I
like,
think it was
oh,
Amanda.
Someone was carrying the keys. And they were like,
oh really?
They're like, oh, do you know how to play that or something? What
Yeah,
did they
they
say?
said something like that. Like, oh,
it was
you know
like,
how to play that?
You know how to play that? Like what? And we like, and then the person working there was like buddies with these guys. He's like, don't worry guys, I'll upgrade you to a room because they were late. Oh my god, it was like 8:02. It was come on.
2 minutes. We were already done. We were just like getting out of there.
And they were looking us up and down. I was like, please get your eyes away from us and never look upon me again.
Yeah, they said some pretty awful stuff. Like,
yeah, the way they were looking at us was just
we were so angry, and we just decided never to go back.
Yeah, Amanda was like outside, like
I was like, I'm going to report this. Like
I'm going to call the boss.
Yeah.
We're never going to this location again, and this one smells worse than the other one anyway.
It was definitely that like unspoken allegiance that like the person working there and like the
Yeah.
band that was like
They're not serious. That we're
yeah,
like
we're like the
okay,
actual musicians. Like these people are just like playing around, you know, and that really
Yeah.
irked us.
Yeah. Like we've been giving you our money for the past 2 years, and this is how you treat us, you know.
And I mean, also, I don't. Well, on that note, for fucking shit. I mean, like even. I mean, I think I briefly said this, but like, when we organized like our first show, like the venue and the sound tech didn't think that it would be successful, and we sold out. And it's like,
Yeah, like they even told us, they were like, "Oh, we're surprised."
They said that we weren't gonna like.
They're very doubtful.
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, it was like, oh, like we weren't sure like how this event would go, because like usually when bands organize their own shows, it doesn't do well, and we were like, oh, we're so surprised. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Hillary organized it, by the way.
All thanks to you.
With also Hotel Pablo and Tiger Bomb, they helped.
Yes, that was a great show.
They are two awesome bands that we. And they've both got new music coming out too.
Yes.
You muted for
I think
a
you
sec,
cut it
but
out.
Yeah.
Oh,
You cut out for a bit.
they both have. We love to play with them, and they both have new music coming out soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
But yeah, that was a great show. That was a great show. That was
I think we all
like,
dream of that show.
yeah. Like it was nuts. It was so hot that
It was
every time
so
I look at those
hot.
photos, I'm like, oh, this is us.
Sweat.
I'm actually surprised I didn't pass out that day. Like that was such a
Yeah,
long
That was
day.
such a long.
I remember
It was a lot for
Chanel
you.
asked for someone to pass some bottled water up to the stage because she was so hot. This place was literally packed to the brim, and like
It was actually over capacity. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really awesome. It was just
Well
like one
done.
of those. No, it's
Thank you.
not us.
Well
It's
done.
like one of
Just
those
Community. It's the
where,
community.
Like, yeah, like the community.
Yeah.
community.
I think it was because like for a year we were always like, oh yeah, we're gonna play, like we're gonna organize a show, and I was like, when are you playing? So this is like the time that we were like, okay, we're playing. Everyone come to this show.
Yeah. But
I think I invited my professor to that show, and she pressed interested on Facebook.
Nice.
Did she come?
No.
My
She'll come
old
one day.
boss came and brought people too. They were like the older people at the back.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like I just, that was like one of the best shows. That it was just like that environment and all of the people who came out to support us. It's like
It was like, yeah,
such a good experience when you're playing to like, I don't know, like
familiar faces or just people you can tell are there, really there to support you.
Or like your own community, you know, like people who are like who like can relate to the songs, and not just our songs but like the other band songs. Like we can all have like a common like relatable experience. Like we were all like POC bands, and like we were all like, I think we were mostly Asian too, right? So,
Yeah.
It's just such a different experience than when you're playing to, even though it could be a bigger crowd of like maybe like, but if they are mostly like white people, I don't know, it's very different.
And that's the beautiful thing that can happen when you curate shows like that are by us and for us.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes shows really don't feel safe, right? But I felt very safe at this show, and I hope everybody who came did, and you know, that's how I would want it to be in the future as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm curious about with you, Daniel, with your when you organize shows. Like what's your experience been with, like, I don't know, the different kinds of crowds that come in to different shows, and like just what the vibe is like, depending on, I don't know, if the lineup that you have that night influences like the vibe of the night, or like good and bad experiences that people have at those shows? Like what has that experience been like for you?
Well, hey, I'm the one supposed to be asking the questions here. All jokes aside,
It's relevant. It's related. I'm curious.
Yeah, we're curious. Tell us.
Jokes aside, well, okay, you twisted my arm. But no, like, but like on the real, the good question, like, booking shows. Like I've been booking for shit. How long I've been booking for? I've officially been booking shows since 2016. And I've been booking shows in Toronto since 2017. So 4 years, I guess. So 4 years official. 4 years. Yeah, 4 years roughly. One of the things with booking shows in general, like it's always a hit or miss thing. It's always a hit or miss thing, or it can be. Like usually when I book shows, I developed a system. Like whenever I book shows, I usually go by a certain criteria, where it's like, okay, do I like the music that the bands are making first and foremost? Are the bands, like, as far as I know, are the band members assholes? You'd be surprised how how rare it is for people to actually take that into consideration. Like, and
That's hugely important too.
Yeah, because like, if any of the band members are like assholes, then like, and there's levels of asshole, there's levels of assholery as well. Because like, someone's just a bit gruff, but they're generally a nice person. Like, okay, whatever, I don't really care. If someone's like, above, like, oh, this person just a little gruff, okay, like an actual asshole, like, this is gonna make people uncomfortable, this is gonna make the audience uncomfortable, this is gonna make the other band's goal, it's just gonna make this a bad experience. And as a booker, I'm not gonna deal with that, and I don't want like the other people in the show to have to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
I've banned bands before from like my booking. Like, I just will not work with certain bands because like of asshole behavior. And like even bands, like, okay, maybe this was like their first show, maybe like nervous or getting the roast, but no, okay, second, third time y'all are assholes, no. Or you hear things and whatnot. And so that's second, and then after that is like booking. I always like, it is not necessarily, I always try to I know so much of a breadth of bands, so like I'll just know diverse bands. Like it is something I try to do, like book diverse bills, gender diverse, racially diverse, primarily like racially diverse, because like they're not mutually exclusive, right? You can book like racially diverse bills and still book like gender diverse bills. You don't have to sacrifice one or the other, right? Because people seeing that, like, that type of representation, as just discussed, it matters. Like, it's good when people at the shows see themselves represented on stage, and then off stage you can see that represented because people bring their family, their friends, and it just it's a different atmosphere. And I've been to shows, like I book shows, like, it's gonna have, like, I book shows of different types. I booked like all white bills before. They're rare for me to do. It's like 1 in 10. But the odd times I do, because of the other criteria I have, generally I don't really have to deal with that many issues, and generally the shows are relatively fine. But like, you don't really see that much, like, it's the different types of crowds, right? Because like, versus say when I book more diverse bills, like, you see there is a more different type of energy. It's like the reactions I get from crowds when I book a show, which is my standard, that is diverse. Like when I booked a show, one of the last shows I booked was a Black History Month show that was an all black lineup, including my own band, because by default, we're one of the few. Seeing people's family there, seeing people who just wouldn't only go to shows, and kind of seeing everybody kind of represented, and seeing the bands that were happy because, they're on a show that's not like booked by some old white dude who's going to mispronounce their names or do whatever. And like, there's an understanding implicit that like no one's going to say or do some shit like in certain avenues, because I'm like, you're surrounded by, like you have friends, you know what I mean? It's that you're not feeling alone. You feel there's that, it's hard to describe that feeling of not being alone. And then outside of that, like in terms of shows I've been to or had hand in booking, like, you know, like seeing different crowds, like the crowd is so important. Like I've been to shows where, like, you know, the bands are like assholes, and like they bring asshole friends. Or, you know, I've been to shows, like particularly all white shows that all white shows, right, where like you know, the crowds are just kind of standoffish. They're like they're standoffish. There's this level of uncomfortability, and there aren't a lot of like POCs there as well. And the few there are, we all tend to know each other very quickly as kind of a buddy system. You get used to that. And you know, and just the layers of things, right? So, you know, the energy there really is important. It really is important in terms of understanding the crowd and like the bands and everything else. Just the general care of curating everything, right? Like because, you know, I don't really care in terms of like, you know, whether or not, say, bands can bring 100 people. It'd be nice. But, you know, I don't really care so much as long as like the actual show itself goes well. Because like, and if people play good shows and the crowds are amazing, you know, like people bring their friends and you're always testing their friends, make sure everyone's comfortable and everything like that. And you know, eventually the shows do kind of gain some traction. People start coming out because it becomes less of a like, oh, you know, this band of all white dudes or all white people who are just kind of like with their shitty, like drunk ass frat boy friends or something. You know, you start getting shows where like everyone kind of is participating together. And for me, that's like the best type of show. And I think that's like, in my experience, those type of shows are the best because, like, you know, there's that implicit understanding, or so it like the understanding. Like, just a quick anecdote, like last year at Lingua Franca, for example, like there was one old dude who, like, I was giving a speech, and I always start off each show with a speech, and this dude was like, "You talk more than the band," and everyone in the room literally just looked at the guy.
Like he was heckling you?
He was heckling me, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And,
Come
yeah,
on.
everyone just like looked at the guy and just like, what the hell is wrong with you? And, you know, and there's moments like that, you know, where like that, or like you know, where, at least for me, and I'm the person booking that show, right? Like there's a layer of like, you know, I'm not tall. I'm 5'6.75" for God's sakes. Like, you know, there's a layer of like, I understand it's like I'm surrounded by all the people at the show, most of them who are like, you know, there's that community aspect. So like, if there's this layer of like, we got each other's back, rather than just like, you know, me being the one lone person at a show. And let's say I booked a bunch of like, let's say I didn't have my criteria and I've just booked a bunch of just haphazard bands with like shitty friends, and there's that one dude heckling me. I'm not. I'm Jamaican. I'll curse him off and tell him about his parts, but like, you know, there's a layer of like, I don't have that guarantee that people are going to have my back. So
Mhm.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sorry that was long.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, that's really good to hear. And I think to some extent I can understand, not from like the booking side, but just from the live show experience, like playing live shows and like just engaging the audience that's there. Like we haven't played that many shows, but we've played enough to have some range of experience with like how things went with like anything from sound check and setup and working with the sound technicians to the interacting with the crowd and the people that are attending the show, right? So yeah, there's definitely a range. It
Yeah.
varies.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel like white people might go out of their way sometimes when they're like really surprised. Like I mean, I for me, I had someone say, "Oh, you're a good bassist," but for me personally, I was just like, do we need to be like affirmed by white people? Is that necessary? Is that the goal? Because like also just referring a little bit back to what people might think of about us versus our actual influences. Like I listen to a lot of music from East Asia, so it's like the people I was trying to role model myself after or were influenced by were all happen to be East Asian. But also like, of course, that's also not something that folks would identify hearing us. And I mean, I like metal. So I there's like it's a little things. But you know, everyone here knows that I like metal.
Oh yeah.
Hillary, the 5-foot metalhead.
Yeah. I mosh. I do. I mosh.
Hillary moshes hard.
Yeah.
You want to get out of her way. Oh man.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish we could mosh at our own show.
Yeah, right. Sometimes the shows we play. Yeah. Some of the stages we played on were really small though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't move.
It's on the bucket list though. Gotta get wireless, one of those wireless plugs for the guitar if you want to do that.
Nah.
So is the guitarist gonna crowd surf?
Just get a 20 or 30-foot cable.
Daniel, have
That's
you
what I
crowd
do.
surfed before?
Have I crowd surfed before?
Yeah.
Okay, when I played, no.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. Like I can't multitask like that.
Oh,
I've seen it happen though. I've totally seen it happen.
Yeah.
It's like
Just got to do your
So
solo.
badass.
I feel like depending on what instrument you're playing, you could do it. Like
I'll crowd surf. I'll
Yeah,
do it.
Leanne's obviously
Okay.
like the easiest
snare
option.
drum.
take the drum kit with you.
You can just like strap it onto like your legs and then
Yeah, I mean, I have like a foot tambourine, so I can just shake that.
There you go.
oh God. I do it. I do it. It's just like I don't know if this is who am I kidding? I don't give a shit. My band is my band's never played to like that many congealed people to like be for me to crowd surf while playing. I want it. I will do it. Like
We'll come there and be your support next time.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Solidarity.
It's just you
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
whatever people are there. If there's 10 people, just ask them to like condense themselves.
Jonathan does it, and he just like gets his 2 friends to carry him.
That's pretty accurate.
Just get your 2 strongest friends and make sure they're there.
Yeah. Shout out to Jonathan from Hotel Pablo. He's the crowd surf king. I like.
There's this photo of
show.
him. Yeah.
Like,
This photo of him at our show. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, the photo where he's like
It's about to fall too.
and everyone around him's like
yeah, he goes hard.
Oh God. But nah, I'll just quickly say, like in my case, like I've had people tell me like one reason why, like I tried crowd surfing once at a like I've crowd surfed, but like one of the first times I tried was at a show where like friends of mine, the bands were playing. Like this is at Lee's Palace, and like I got invited on stage. If you know me, you know I'm shirtless all the time. It's free. It's freedom. I view it as freedom, right? And so I like some people were saying like one of the reasons they actually told the crowd, and like this is again about audiences and like how that playing such an important role because the audience just was like people who just stood at the back, so you could kind of tell that these are like their like friends, not necessarily music lovers who went. Yeah, and anyways, they were like, this guy might wanna. They didn't know I was a non-binary then, but like this guy might wanna crowd surf, and nobody came up front. Like it was a pack show too. Nobody
Oh
came.
no.
And
Aw.
then I'm light. I'm 4'6" and 3/4. I'm light. But then I'm like, oh, so someone I knew was like, Daniel, you're muscular. They like look at you and think, nah. I'm not. Nah. I'm not dealing with this. And I'm like, I've seen Damien Abraham from Fucked Up Crowd Surf. Like. But
There you go. It can be done. I can totally just imagine, because I'm thinking about Lee's Palace, like the venue inside, how there's like the lower floor level.
yeah.
And I can just imagine all the people sitting around the perimeter. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. And it was a pack show too. There were enough people, but anyways, I digress.
Oh. One day you'll have your time to shine.
Yeah,
Very soon.
2022 when shows are back to oh god. Oh god. Oh god. So now on back again, I guess with the serious topics. Now, what's your experience like, I guess, as musicians like in Toronto? We touched on this a bit already. But like, just to kind of go, I guess, more in depth, that like, what's your experience like, I guess, as musicians in Toronto in the sort of non-existent existent BIPOC scene in this region?
Anyone have anything to share about
Go
that?
first.
Well, I have an interesting story about a connection that I made with someone. So actually, this is Cutsleeve has been having a weekly Instagram live stream series called Misconnections, where we've been like just chatting with our music friends while we're not able to play together and things like that, just to stay connected. So I had a guest, my friend Callie, and Callie and she plays in a band called Terra Stray, and they are like a folk punk band based in Toronto. And how we met was actually at a show that we were attending. We were seeing Fox sing. I can't remember who else was on the bill. But anyway, so we were at this show and we didn't know each other. We were both in the audience, like near the front. And actually both met through my partner. So the two of them were down on the stairwell at, I believe it was the Mod Club. And the next band, I think it was Foxing, that was getting ready. They were loading in and getting their gear on stage. And people who had gone down to the bathroom and taken the stairwell, they were being held up at the stairwell to let the band load in and the last band load out. So anyway, the two of them, my partner and Callie, were in the stairwell chatting. And we're talking about music and things like that. Callie was saying how like she's in a band. And then how she's like looking for other like Asian women who play music and like who play like harder music, because her band's like it's kind of like pirate rock, like folk punk kind of band. And my partner Alex is like, oh, you have to meet my partner Hannah. She plays in an all East Asian queer women band, and they play like alternative rock and like punk music. And then they both came back to the floor and found me, and we connected. And then Callie ended up putting on a show last year called Tears, Fears, and Existential Queers. And that was a bill full of queer-fronted bands, including us. Her band and another band, I think two more.
Honeymoon Bay.
Honeymoon Bay.
And your partner.
And Alex, yeah.
Alex Townsend. But yeah, I guess that was an interesting experience, like because Toronto is such a hub for like bigger shows, and we have like those bigger venues like the Mod Club and Danforth, Budweiser Stage, like all these different venues. You never know who you're gonna run into at these shows, like fellow musicians who maybe like share some commonalities. Like Kelly and I are both queer East Asian women, play music that isn't like classical piano or something stereotypical. Yeah, so I guess that's one nice experience I've had in the music scene in Toronto.
I think Toronto is like one of those places where and I'm like, we're fairly new to the music scene too, but just from what I've noticed so far, it's like one of those places where you can both like, there's so much talent in Toronto. Like, there's actually a lot of BIPOC talent in Toronto, but it's simultaneously, it's also for some reason like it's easy to find people, but at the same time hard, because like I feel like so much of it is word of mouth, who you know, like this person will know this person and they'll bring them in. And so in that way, like, because there's so much BIPOC talent, it's good, but at the same time it's also like, if there's no like if the people who are booking the shows or like bringing other bands on are only going to bring on other people who are like them, then how do we can make sure that we diversify our shows and our audiences, right? So it's like one of those like, it's good but it's not good kind of things. Because I do feel like Toronto especially is like has such a multicultural like talent pool.
I mean, to speak on that more, I guess, is like, for me personally, I try to prioritize going to shows only that feature POC musicians, unless I'm like really into the music, if the artist is white, and like it, because if they're big and they sell out, it's only going to get more expensive, so it's only going to be more inaccessible. So I try and like go early on in their career, to at least witness it once. But like, I mean, like, I think when you see posters, unless there's like a picture of the bands available, it's not easily identifiable. Like, I think that it needs to be a lot more like explicit, even though it shouldn't be, so that and there should be more incentive to support BIPOCs, because of course BIPOCs don't have the same access and resources to catch on and like be put on those like showcases like with Exclaim or whatever. Or not, also, of course, like, I mean, we all probably know that like bands who are like very skilled and have like a virtuoso sort of approach to what they're actually making, they will be more recognized and uplifted, which is like an elitist thing. So I mean, like, usually I feel safer when I go to shows, because I'm not going to shows that are like all white bills. And it's obviously like with the reveal of a lot of names of sexual abusers now, like, it's like these are all probably mostly white people, and it's like they've been allowed to prosper, and that shouldn't be a case. And people just need to go and support BIPOC bands more, even if it's really small, and we need to get, like, other folks who have social capital should use that social capital to raise up other POCs. That's personally my approach, because it's not fair, and we have to try and do our part, you know. But like I recently started like a little Instagram group of like POC female identifying bassists, so that like we could talk to each other. And you know, like we're gonna try and have a page so that we can have a directory of BIPOC producers, technicians, etc., so that folks have access to that, so that they can be hiring and employing them, as opposed to, you know, white folks. Because we, you know, it's only now that everyone's maybe sort of waking up that Black folks created rock music. Like all the music that we enjoy, it's all from Black folks. So it's like there's a level of like respect in relationship of this cultural product that isn't being recognized.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how like you think, yeah, Toronto, a huge city, so multicultural, diverse. Like, yes, like multiculturalism, diversity is here. There's a lot of diverse talent, and like it's interesting. Like on the one hand, it can be easy to find and stumble upon, but at the same time, it's hard to find each other. Like this whole thing, like Hillary did an amazing thing, started this directory, this whole like database basically of all of these like people who work in music, sound technicians and whatnot. And it's like when we were looking for our producer, like so many people that contacted us through our call outs for someone to help us with this EP were white people. And it's just interesting how like, I don't know, maybe it's just interesting whose voices are the loudest and who are the loudest in these music spaces, and people who, I don't know, I guess I'm not, like we haven't been in the music scene in Toronto for that long, and I'm not that experienced. I don't have that much experience in the scene either, so I'm not sure exactly how that happens or why that is, that there is a particular, I don't know, you start to notice a pattern of who gets certain opportunities to either play shows or get jobs, to get bands to work in their studio, to do work and like make money and all this stuff. It's like, why is that? I mean, I think there are, I can think of some reasons why, but it's just like interesting that even in Toronto, like this is a thing. Like it's still hard to find each other, and like I feel like it's on us to do the work to like, I don't know, get more work. like yeah, it's complicated.
I think as a band, we Cutsleeve also always try to prioritize, if we are working with somebody or hiring somebody, we always prioritize working with BIPOC or queer folks. And sometimes it does take that extra step to look for someone who, you know, like there's obviously the same questions when you're looking to work with someone, if you're a good fit, you know, like will you work well together, but so like going that extra mile to find someone who we can work with, but you know, is also maybe not as like we had to do the extra work to go find them, like they're not as represented their voices are not the loudest. When we put out a call, they're not like the first ones who pop up on there. We have to do some digging for it. So, and I mean, we're not perfect either, but I think everybody owes it to themselves to do that extra step at the very least, you know.
Yeah, I'd also add that, like, I think being in Toronto, like you said, like, it's kind of like both at the same time, because we do go that extra step, but also I feel like that extra step is just a little bit easier to take because of the nature of this city is, or at least like meeting all of you and like the groups that we're all connected to, like, because there's that kind of mutual understanding that like we care for each other's communities and everything, that extra step is definitely a lot easier than it can be for folks who are living in areas where they're like a very obvious visible minority, or I guess a little bit less connected to communities or to folks who like know how to take that first step, because I think that's really important too.
Yeah, and I mean, just to touch upon like that point about our like when we were looking for a producer, it's like, I mean, we had some, like we specifically said in it, like priority to BIPOC,
Yeah.
and people were still like contacting us even though they're white, and then like some people made like said very silly things in when they contacted us. I was just like, it's like literally, it's like if you're POC, you know these are like red flags, but this person like thinks they're so good because they're like, oh, I have friends and family who are gay and POC. It's like, no, that doesn't mean anything.
We did. I mean, we said priority to BIPOC and or queer producers, engineers. So we did get some people who were white but who were queer, and we did consider them too, because you know we that was also like a priority of someone that we wanted to work with too. And those people were lovely. It's just the very few, like I wouldn't even say few, the people that we didn't end up meeting with. And there was a reason why, because they sent us emails that were like exactly what Hillary said, like riddled with red flags. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, only one of them was POC, which is the person we worked with. It's like, how is that possible? There's no way it's possible. There's only one POC producer, and now it's like, I like now because because I'm following more, like anytime I see a POC band in Toronto, I'll follow them. And now that and then I'll look through their Bandcamp and I'll see the credits for who's producing their music, and that's literally the only way I found a lot of the people on the list that I came up with, is seeing who produced their music. But also, of course, like not all POC folks, you know, because of access to money and whatnot, can afford to even get it like professionally produced in a studio or whatever too. I mean, I was talking to Zippy Wan, who's an Indigenous producer, and I was telling them that like in the US, there's a lot of East and Southeast Asian bands that are like really admirable because they produce everything themselves, right? Like Jason produces everything herself, and they made a good point, and it was like, because they don't get funding, and it's like it's very hard and isolating to do everything yourself. But like it shouldn't be that way. And then also that's why like they release an album like in 2 years as opposed to like, you know, because everything takes longer because you need money to do things fast.
In terms of accessibility too, I'm glad you brought that up, Hillary, because like I feel like, you know, when we did put out those call outs, there were BIPOC producers, but they're at a level that we would not be able to afford, or they're not available, you know. Like in terms of accessibility, I feel like there are many different levels of recording, right? Like there's the super like high expensive like level, mid-level, like there's like different tiers of accessibility and people who work in those levels. And I feel like we just don't have enough people spread out over those levels for people to make it accessible for people who need those different levels, I guess.
I'd agree. At least from like my own experiences from from knowing like from knowing people on a production side, like I know a lot of like behind the scenes people, like POCs, photographers, I know sound engineers, videographers, etc. But like it's one of like from a behind the scenes aspect, like to give you an example, like at least for in the sphere that I guess the two spheres the spheres I kind of work in, you know, I don't know. I'm the only, as far as I know, like outside of the hip hop sphere and R&B sphere, which is completely different. Like I don't know that world at all. I'm the only like black promoter, like particularly black DIY promoter that I know of in like in the entire Golden Horseshoe. that's not an exaggeration. If anyone,
Wow.
if any other like black, like, yeah, right, if any other black promoters are listening to this, please prove me wrong. But like
That's a big area you're covering.
yeah, yeah, so it's one of those things, right? It's like it's like so many of us do exist, right? Like so many of us do exist, right? But like, you know, it, it's rare. Like it's rare. Like even in terms of booking lingua franca, like there are some like bands there, like it's from a band, even from a band perspective, like, you know, it's so hard to kind of be in that middle ground as a band or as a producer, as a person in this type of field, you know, when you are, you know, when you're like the IPOC, because you know the erasure is so heavy, the disparagement, so many different things. Like I know a lot of bands, like I'm the person who will be like, don't stop. Your music is amazing, please do not stop. I've had to tell so many, you know, non-white musicians that over the years, just to kind of encourage them not to quit, because, you know, they feel like they're not getting anywhere, they're not getting any respect, and not like getting like, you know, major accolades or playing Danforth, but like just getting at least some modicum of like respect. Like it's not just like I'm playing to avoid. And you know, and there are some bands that like, you know, they had to get to a certain level in order to survive even. And you know, it's like contacting them, it's just like, okay. Why? Okay, like thankfully I found a lot of bands, but that when I first started, before I was like I did the digging, right? You know, it's just like I'm like, okay, this one band or this one black band or this one indigenous band, it's like, okay, they have a manager. And they're like, and this is like their payoff or whatever, and it's like, I can't do that yet. But then there isn't that middle ground, because like there's so few of us and getting through and everything. So it's been interesting seeing that change of late, but it's been a slow process.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Oh.
oh, just that, like, you know, for a city that claims that it's like so multicultural, but it's like, you don't even know who, like, it shouldn't take so much effort to like find people, you know. It's like if you, but I mean, like that's, I mean, I don't logistically, I don't know what that would look like if it's like you Google POC producer in Toronto, like that's not going to show up,
Yeah.
right? So
So we got to make our own database.
I think the databases work somewhat. They work somewhat. At least they help.
you work in it because you're in film, and there's a very
I found that has had maybe I don't know too much about if they're the music databases, but I find in the last like 4 years the databases have really become a thing in the film and TV industry, which I work in, and they've really helped me get work, because you're not gonna like put on your website that you're I don't know, like no producer like puts on their like they're just like, I'm a producer, because that's just who they are, right? Like they're not going to put like all these labels on them. So how do you find people? So the databases really help, because then like people can actually come find you without you, having to be like, I'm POC and I'm queer, like hire me. You know what I mean? Like it's very like we just want to be seen for our work, not for who we are, I guess. So but then how do you facilitate the hiring that way? So the databases, I think they work very well, or at least they help, in my opinion. So I think it's great that Hillary had this idea we could put this database together, because we do know a lot of people who we work with who are BIPOC, and we know other people who worked with BIPOC people. So I think we just all need to like pool together.
And maybe we can expand it out to the Golden Horseshoe region.
Yeah.
No, for real. For real. Like for real. Oh God, that's funny. I shouldn't laugh, but all I can do is laugh.
Yeah.
It's a sad laugh.
Yeah.
yeah. I only know. I think there's only two female like professional bookers in Canada, and only one of them is POC, and that's Tao, Blue Crane Agency, and she represents a lot of BIPOC folks, mostly Black folks in like R&B and electronic music, and she's East Asian and queer. So that's been a small progress, and it's amazing that like she's thriving and making a living doing this work and supporting BIPOC.
She's great.
Nice. Very, very, very cool. for
We got really serious here in the last like half an hour. Really serious talks.
well,
The struggle.
well,
Yeah.
it's with interviews, right? Like this is us. You know what I mean? This is like BIPOC's, our sorrows, our joys, our laughter, our love of pie. In my case, I really like pie, but
I love pie too.
Pie is great.
We need to all name our favorite.
I also like pie.
Pie is great.
apple and pumpkin.
Hillary's is peach.
Yeah.
Wait, apple and pumpkin like as one pie, or like those two separate kinds of pies?
Separately.
Okay.
Apple pumpkin. Apple pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin
I like savory pies, like meat pies.
Oh.
Or veggie pot pies, or like anything that's like more savory.
I'm gonna second you on the apple pie.
Classy. You can't go wrong with apple pie. It's so
Exactly.
good.
Yeah.
With some vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
So good.
Yum.
Now I'm hungry.
I like a coconut cream pie.
I've never had that.
It's very good.
Is it like a meringue?
Not quite, no.
Custard?
It's kind of like, it's more like it's more light. like a whipped cream with coconutty filling. It's very nice.
This is the epitome. Like, as POC, of course, we're going to talk about food.
Listen, like, no, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like, it's like
No,
It's not. It's it's our being.
Yes.
In Jamaica, we have jokes. Among the Jamaican community, we have jokes. It's like, you do something, then the first thing you think about is where's the food. And like my mom always like talked about that, and like as I aged, I realized, oh crap, that's me to a T. It's like, what are we doing? Is there gonna be food there?
Oh yeah.
My favorite times where we've all hung out as a band are over food. Like every time we
Same.
Yeah.
Remember that time we made dumplings at my place? That was...
Yeah, for Lunar New Year.
And then
It's been like a tradition now, right? Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, except last year, Chanel wasn't able to make it, but
Yeah.
Leanne hasn't been to
I don't think I was able to make it either.
yeah, and
either of them either. Yeah.
No, but you came to TNT with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll start the tradition next year.
Okay.
For half of it. Yeah. Yeah, and then someone set my stove on fire. I remember that.
What?
Like, it just went like poof, all this flame.
For Lunar New Year?
Yeah, the first time we did it. I think it was Ben.
Oh. I mean, I was cooking, so I was like, thought I would remember that.
You know what? Hillary's the person who introduced me to cooking with chopsticks. I had never cooked with chopsticks before.
What?
Yeah.
You shocked me so much I accidentally turned off my video.
What?
Hey, what did you mix your noodles with? How did you do that? How do you pick your dumplings out of the steamer?
I literally only cook with chopsticks.
Yeah.
It's just like not something that I had ever done, and like I guess it's a little bit different too, because like I'm technically like Southeast Asian, and we don't really like we'll use chopsticks, but for the majority of meals it's like spoon and fork. So
Right.
kind of like I had never crossed my mind and to use chopsticks before. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like I don't know why.
It's okay. You're still valid. You're still valid.
Eat only, not to prepare.
But it was Hillary the first time that I saw cooking with chopsticks that actually like noticed, hey, this is a better way to pick up your noodles.
It's like when people say, which of the 3 utensils would you use if you only could use one? I'm like, chopsticks. What do you mean?
Oh god. I think I just heard a conversation that's like if I heard a Jamaican kid say they never had our version of dumplings, fried dumplings or curry goat. I just
Blasphemy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a weird joke. My mom, like born in Jamaica, came here when she was 10, right? She didn't know what she was born in the 1960s, so like she didn't know what she came here literally right before reggae began. She didn't know what reggae was until she had to go to Nigeria on a school trip when she was in her late teens. So this would be around between 77 and 1980. So like she had to go to Nigeria and have someone in Nigeria tell her who Bob Marley was.
Wow.
While Bob Marley was becoming popular. So it's just like, huh?
Wow.
Wow.
Well, it's never
School trip to Nigeria sounds fun though.
Yeah, I wish that I did a school trip to Nigeria. What kind of school? What school sponsors your trips that like outside of? I feel like in in Ontario, the only places you get to go to are maybe like
Montreal.
Quebec. Yeah.
Stratford for a Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
Medieval times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medieval times.
Nah, my mom was like a writer. My mom's like a writer, so like she got like I think won a writing competition. She was like, I shouldn't say school trip, but like she basically was representing Canada for like this
I
kind of
see.
like
Oh.
if you've ever seen the Dave Chappelle skit about the black delegation, that's literally what she was doing. She was the part of
Wow.
the worldwide black delegation, I think, representing like one of the people representing Canada. And
That's so
they
cool.
went to Nigeria for something. We also had like relatives there because there are Jamaicans everywhere. We're like weeds. So yeah, she kind of just stayed with with her, I think, aunt who was living there, and funny coin how that works out. And yeah, so
Wow, that's amazing.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
yeah, so yeah, you're not alone with the with the
There's always
awkward
one thing.
That exposes that even living under a rock, kind of.
I've never cooked with chopsticks. I can't even use them properly.
It's okay.
I
When
don't
I go
think
to
any of
my
us do.
when I go to my grandma's house, like in China, my uncles were all bullying me because I was holding them wrong. They're all,
I don't
and then
think anyone holds them right.
Yeah, nobody really. If you hold chopsticks correctly, you were taught by somebody. Like someone. I went to
Etiquette school.
I have had a dinner with someone who I met for the first time who were Asians, and they were like looking at my hands like the whole dinner, and then at the end of it they were like, who taught you how to use chopsticks? I was like, what do you mean? Like, my mom did. And that lady was like, well, you can tell that someone taught you how to use them because most people who grow up using chopsticks like will just like pick it up and like use it, right? Like, so nobody really holds chopsticks properly unless you actually like learn it the proper way, which I don't even hold chopsticks properly. It's just like close to what you would be technically taught. But like everyone who I know who like grew up eating chopsticks holds them like in a very different way. Like, so there's not really one way to hold them, really.
I gotta research this now. I ain't gonna sleep, but I gotta research it. But
I mean, they're like talking about community. Like, I feel like there should be like when it's safe, there should be like a dinner, like all the BIPOC in the music.
all
scene.
BIPOC in Toronto have
all-
a huge dinner together.
We all just
Potluck.
yes,
The biggest potluck ever.
yes,
Yeah. And Daniel, I'll bring you a pair of chopsticks.
One of those like learning ones. Did you guys have ones when you were kids where they were like attached
God.
at the top?
No.
No.
Okay, my mom got us like training
That's
chopsticks
true.
that were attached at the top that make it like easier for you to learn. Maybe that's why my technique's not as good.
No, I went straight for the grown-up chopsticks.
Oh,
Here's
yeah.
the best technique if anyone is
Also,
just stab your dim sum with a
yeah.
like,
Also,
stab it.
the different chopsticks are handled differently because Korean chopsticks feel way different.
Yeah.
Oh, they feel so different.
They're very different because
Yeah.
they're round and
Flat.
metal.
Mhm.
And metal, yeah.
Even with like plastic and wooden chopsticks, like I feel like you have to hold them very differently. And the hardest ones to learn on are those disposable ones, like the bamboo ones that you get from the takeout places. They're hard to use.
They're like way too light.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
injure you. So
Yeah.
Well, that's why you have to like
Chopsticks
after you break them
101,
apart, like
everybody.
Yes.
shave them
Oh,
down
yeah.
a little. Yeah.
you gotta make a fire with it. Yeah.
I just
How did
learned
we
it.
get here?
Yeah, how did we start talking about this?
This is now a food interview. It's not about music anymore. It's about food.
Cutsleeve.
Hey, this is why I don't write questions. This is why I don't write questions. As I like seeing where conversations go organically.
Yeah. The
I would-
chopsticks.
Oh God. But no, like seriously though, I gotta research this now. I'm like, there's an entire chopstick art that I do not know. I gotta look this up. But oh god, see what you done? now I find it amazing. But all jokes aside, so I guess going on a more back to serious topic, like still on a lighter end, because also I think we got, I don't know, do we have 17 minutes left? I think. I have no idea how this works, so let's see what happens. So my next question is, I guess, for you guys, like, so like as a band, like, what are you kind of hoping for? Like I'm curious. Like, one thing I, for example, wanted to do, like, from the from the day I found out about you guys, like, I forget when exactly, but it was early. It was in winter. It was in winter. And for my usual perusing, I'll literally have days where I'll always find new bands, and then I always make note of bands, particularly like BIPOC inclusive bands, and so I've been monitoring y'all for a while. And I was kind of, one thing I wanted to do is I was hoping to kind of book you for Lingua Franca. That didn't happen. Because nature decided to screw us all over, but whatever. So I'm, again, thank you for being on the interview, for allowing me to interview you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. But like, what are you kind of hoping to do? Like, I know you're coming out with the album in August, mid-August, correct? And I guess after that, like, what do you kind of playing? Like, what are you hoping to do? Like, as a band, like, I'm curious to see what this group of musicians, who has so piqued my interest, is going to do going forward and whatnot.
We're gonna keep making music.
Well, I was gonna say, to keep piquing your interest, we're not gonna tell you to keep you mysteriously interested. I mean, well, like we said, like, we have our EP coming out at the end of the summer, which is a long time in the making, and hopefully after that we can get started on working on a full-length album, another, which will be a whole long process, but I think we're all in this for like a long haul, and just kind of exploring our identity and creating community within Toronto as well is a big goal of ours.
Definitely. Yeah, I think personally, I don't know, I guess maybe this is something that as a band we still should check in with each other about and like talk about, is like our priorities with us being a band. Where do they lie? And like, I don't know, I feel like there's some people who get into music knowing that, or wanting for it to become like, to get their big break, or be able to make a living off of just doing music, and or something like that. And I feel like with us, there's 5 of us. We all kind of have our own career paths that we're going down. Some of us are in school, going back to school, changing careers, currently working. And like, it would be nice if we somehow just became famous and blew up in the world. Like, that would be neat. But I think like the more important thing is, yeah, the community aspect. Like how can we as members of a community in Toronto, different communities in Toronto, continue to foster those spaces and help them grow. And through our music and being part of the music scene in Toronto, how can we like improve those spaces in certain ways? Like, maybe there's things that can be improved about them. But yeah, I think that's one thing that I'm inspired about and looking forward to is the community aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we revisit this a lot, and it's good to remind ourselves that, like, the intention of us being together was inherently just because, like, we all have an interest in music, but there were no spaces that we felt safe enough to try and do it. So, like, for me specifically, like, I literally probably would never have written my own bass lines if I wasn't in a band. Like, I just wouldn't, because I also, like, require a lot of assistance and support from, like, Amanda, who usually figures out the chord progressions in our songs, because I just don't have that skill, because I'm self-taught. So, like, you know, like, literally, like, just the bare minimum of making a thing is, like, it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in this space, or we weren't creating this space for each other.
I echo Hillary's sentiment, but I also want to say that she's being humble and that she writes sick bass lines.
No, I don't.
And we all work together. Like, obviously I have to, like, if I'm coming out of the chords, I have to give other people the notes to work with, but we all work, like, together with each other. So she's being humble.
Yeah, I think everything everyone said is really well put, and just like the idea of how we're all like individually growing and also growing together as a group, I think is the most important thing for us. And that'll show in our music, but I think it also shows a lot in our own personal lives. And those things are so like attached to each other, like they're so tangled up anyways, that yeah, just like growth everywhere is what we're aiming for.
Cool. Yeah, I just remembered I had to mute myself. So, all right, very cool. When does your album come out again? Like, what are the exact dates so I can mark my calendars or calendar?
We're revealing that on Friday.
Ooh.
I think yes. I think we're revealing it on Friday.
Yeah, we're revealing. I think so. We're revealing the album release date.
Yeah, so our single will be out Friday, July 24th.
This Friday.
You can access all of the information on our Instagram, which is our main source of information, which is just Cutsleeve.
That's CUT.
SLEEV.
Oh, God.
And our music will be coming out on Spotify, and we are officially on Spotify now. So you can find us there, our music there when it comes out. Bandcamp as well.
We will.
We'll be on all the platforms.
All the streaming services.
We're trying.
Except one.
Except Amazon, because
Yes. Boo hiss.
Well, I'm happy I'll be able to find it. If I couldn't find, I'm like, if Friday came and I couldn't find your music, I'd be like, all right, the new Cutsleeve isn't out. Right. I got be right. All right. But like, all jokes just aside, I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Okay, so are
Thank
we.
you so much for your support.
Oh, also we have a website.
Yeah, cutsleeveband.com.
Yes, yes. It has more. It has, like, all of our the press that we've been in, and it'll be updated on Friday so that it'll, like, highlight the single and then, you know, redirect to the EP. And yeah, just, you know, all that background bio stuff about us.
Nice. Very nice. I'm not gonna lie, you put me to shame professionally because, like, my band does not have a website.
But it's also,
You know what? I didn't know it was that expensive to have one. Maybe it's not considered expensive because it's like 150 a year, but like I'm just like, wow, that's
This is another barrier, right? Like,
yeah.
Too rich for my
Yeah.
blood.
We
yeah.
haven't had
I mean, if you have Instagram, then why not, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
free.
we were using Instagram for a really long time and it was fine. And we didn't even have we like we're talking about a website for a long time, but we just like never found anyone who could make a website for us. And then Hillary was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make it myself.
Yeah. In true
Yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, like everyone just goes to Instagram for information anyways. So
Yeah, with like with my band, like I I really gotta like I have a difficult time with Wheeze and Ice with every certain things you've got to understand. I run like all the accounts. I've only started using Twitter again for the band. God, that's a mess. But
the accounts you run, Daniel, I feel like you must have like so many.
I mean, we don't have a Twitter.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
But even on Instagram,
YouTube.
you have multiple ones for yourself, for your band, for your bookings. Like there's so many things that, and then for the festival, like how do you even go through so many Instagrams?
I don't sleep at night. A modern phone, just kind of keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm bullheaded, so like, it's one of the only ways it's one of the best ways I can do it, because like, it just leaves a level of consistency, right, among all the platforms and everything, and just kind of making sure. It also makes it easier for people to contact me for different things, and also content, because I'm also a photographer on the side, and
Wow.
and I don't like my Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, Daniel _underscore 1876 for those interested. There are a lot of shirtless pics. I am quite attractive, but but no, like I can't post everything on the same thing. So like, just okay, John Crow stuff. My main is everything. Lingua franca is that, and then on Facebook I have the booking pages for different accounts. Oh God, it's more confusing than it's actually confusing now that I think about it. I don't know how I do.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot. Like,
I'm very
for
impressed.
everything, we make like Google Docs for everything, Google Drives for everything, and it's like,
You would have thought that's a struggle, trying to be organized with that. It's like,
Yeah, I think people don't realize and how much work it is. Like even just like this aspect of like upkeeping all of like social media and like updating and stuff like that. And I sure didn't know how much work it was before. Like, and I don't barely even do the social media. Leanne and Hillary do it. So
Yeah, it's one of those things.
yeah.
But yeah, enough of my slowly deteriorating mental state. But no, like, no, like for real, y'all run a very neat ship. I'm stoked to see what comes next. I look forward to the day we play together.
yeah,
Yeah.
they rip. You rip.
Oh yeah, and we can and we can all have a conversation at the fast at it. I'm thinking of what place we would get food. Never mind. Okay, we all over food or something. We'd all talk about like about like bands with like interesting band. Never mind. I'm trying to be funny. Never mind. All right. But yes. So yeah, Cutsleeve. It has been a overwhelming pleasure. Thank you once again for being on the program show. I don't know what to call this.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you for reaching out to us and putting this together.
You're so fun to talk to. This is like very chill. I liked it.
Oh my! Thank you. You're gonna make me blush. Do you have any final words? I guess for the people. Any weird anything you want to plug? Or if you just want to strike a pose and just kind of leave it at that. I don't know.
Lead is a model, so
Follow our Instagram and keep your eye out for the EP.
And
That's all I gotta say.
This Friday. Yeah.
Shout out to Daniel.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. Cutsleeve. Check them out. Seriously, like if they're if they're streaming, I'll get a watch. Like if their streaming numbers, public streaming numbers don't go up like over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to publicly rant.
You should do there should be a live reaction to listening to it.
Ooh. So you can finally hear our sound.
Yeah. We and then we can either be affirmed or maybe the EP will balance that out.
I'll bring my Jamaican candor. But yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us
Oh.
again.
Great.
Anytime.
Bye.
Talk soon.
Have a good
Okay.
night.
Now I'm just
Bye.
gonna
See ya.
stop the recording and